Go.
So we're about to start our pillow club off. We're going to do our February pillow club. Here we are. So, following your directions, we're going to have, by the way, 2 different videos for this. So one for just the pillow front, and then we're going to do a separate video to do the faux miter border and or for faux mitered flange, and that is going to be that video you're going to use to refer to for all 12 months of Pillow Club. They all have that faux flange. So that'll be your instructional video for all of the 12 pillows. So this one, we're only going to do the top. So here we go. We're working on our Valentine pillow. And following our directions here, I've gone a little ahead. So roughly cut apart your steam-a-seam. So when we say roughly cut apart, that means don't cut on the lines, cut by the lines on the steam-a-seam. You have all of your pre-printed steam-a-seam pieces in your kit. Fuse your envelope flap and 1 heart onto the back of white fabric. So I have a white heart and a white envelope flap. The envelope flap that you're putting the white fabric on is the bigger of the 2 pieces. You're going to put your hot pink on the other envelope flap, the smaller piece, okay? And then I have fused my 1 red heart. So all my fusing is done. Once I got that fusing done, then I cut out on the dark solid line. So you have 2 lines on your templates. So you have an outer lighter line and a dark solid line. Cut on the dark solid line, cut all your pieces out. Following along here, this piece, I think it's mentioned in here somewhere, needs to be trimmed down to 12.5 by 16.5 inches. We're going to use 1/4 inch seam allowances. That'll give you your 12 by 16 pillow cover. So this is your pillow front. These 2 pieces, you're going to trim these to 9 inches square to make your letter. And then this piece right here, this is template A. You're going to cut 2 of those, which you're then going to cut or sew together. So let me show you how we're going to do that. So we're going to take right sides together. I'm going to put those just like that. I'm going to go to my machine with my 1/4 inch, with my 1/4 inch seam. I am going to sew my 1/4 inch seam just on this top edge only. Boy, that bounces a lot without the insert. I don't have my insert yet for my cabinet. That's why that's bouncing. Okay, then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut out this kind of dip there, and that will allow that to turn. Then I'm going to turn this, and I'm going to work that seam out. So I think it says in your directions somewhere to make sure that you worked your seam out. So work your seam out like this so that your stitch line is all the way up. Like that. And then press that down so you have a nice press. So I have a nice outer edge now for my envelope. Now I'm going to take my heart pieces. They're whispering over there. There's whispers in here, you guys. They're keeping secrets from us. What kind of secrets you guys have?
She took the quilt to the car.
Oh, that's not a very good secret. Why can I not get that off of there? It really doesn't want to come off. Steam-a-seam, by the way, is what it says, steam-a-seam. So you're going to use steam to adhere it. Oh my gosh, really?
Do that and it comes off. Huh?
Or there, I finally got it. Jeez Louise. There we go. Phew. Okay, so take your steam-a-seam off of your 2 pieces of your heart. Yeah, that one's going to come off better. Like so. And put them wrong sides together with the steam-a-seam facing one another. And that'll just give this a little, ooh, line them up better than I just did. Lori's popping gum. Y'all hear that? I heard that. Anyway. Okay. Wow. Okay. Apparently I can't cut. So I'm going to trim this down so that I don't have one overhanging the other.
And you put the white on there because of?
So I want more depth to this. We're going to put this right here. This is going to be freestanding.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to make sure it had a little bit of body to it. Okay, so now I'm going to put that on my envelope edge, which is what this is. And I'm going to pin it in place so that it doesn't shift. So I just lined it up with this point. You see my heart now, it goes down into that point. And just overlapping the edge a little. I'm going to set that aside because I'm going to do some blanket stitch on that. Now I'm going to take these two pieces. This is my envelope flap. And it's really going to give me issues today, isn't it? There it goes. Okay. And I'm going to get this so that it's a, I don't know, a couple inches up there, maybe about like that. And then I'm going to put this and see if that's where I want my envelope. I think I'll lower it a little.
That's what's nice about steam seam too, is that so it's repositionable.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to make sure that I'm about centered on my pillow front. And I can do that by taking my ruler and just saying to there. And I'm really not centered. Move it to about there. And to there. And lo and behold, that's good. Okay. And then I'm going to put this up here again and just make sure that's where I want it. And that looks pretty good to me. So we'll leave that there. Now I'm going to take my hot pink and get the back off of that. Man, that really doesn't want to come off of there. I used to threaten my kids to within an inch of their life when they were out popping gum.
So if you don't see me here next week, you'll know that I got fired.
Yeah, I have that upside down. There. You want the pointy part up, guys. Don't do what I just did. It used to make me crazy. Like, if you pop that gum one more time, I'm going to pop you.
I'm terrible with it.
Okay. So that's where I'm going to have that. And then I'm just going to press it down into place.
So now once you press it, now
It's done.
it's done. You can't move it
It's
anymore.
staying there. Okay. Now, told you I was going to stitch around this heart. What I'm going to do is I'm going to not have this foot, is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my, what foot am I going to use? I'm going
20C?
to use my, I don't have a 23, so yeah, I guess I'm going to use my 20D foot. And I'm going to get my other stitch plate, which I don't see. Why don't I see my other stitch plate? Any ideas?
Look in the drawer.
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. Nope. Okay. Okay. The heck did we do with our stitch plate? Well, for crying out loud. It was here. Well, we have completely lost a stitch plate. That's not good.
There'll be one in that, in the,
Over here, maybe. There's a 790 over here. That I can't get out because the machine's not turned on, the foot's down, and oh, for crying out loud. All right, you guys, sing to yourself while I go find a stitch plate.
hi Courtney.
All right, hopefully you guys have had a good time talking to yourself. You go all the way to the front of the store. I wonder if Joe took it. He does that sometimes when he's working on a machine. Okay, I'm going in here. And I'm gonna pick my double blanket stitch, which for this machine is stitch 1330. And I'm gonna turn my 0mm plate off. And I'm gonna choose the right foot. Okay, and that moved my needle. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is start the blanket stitch with the needle just to the right of the applique piece, just to the outside of it. You guys have a spool of isocord in your kits to do this with. I'm gonna get that pin out of there. That head's sitting right where my foot is. There we go. Okay. And this is a double blanket stitch. And I'm just going to go around my heart. Okay, I got to the point, and now I'm going to come up, oops. I went one stitch too far. Don't do what I did. But anyway, you guys get the idea. And I can take that off. You get that curve. Go slow if you need to. And then when you get to the top of the heart, instead of your needle coming off the fabric, have your needle come just to the edge of the fabric, and that will prevent you from having a thread jam underneath, which you don't want to do. And I think I might have just got one. Nope. I avoided it by some miracle. Okay, anyway, keep your needle on the right side just in the fabric, and that'll prevent that thread jam from happening. Now, do you have to do this double blanket stitch? Absolutely not. If you got some other kind of stitch you'd like to have, use that instead. It's up to you. You can do whatever you like. And somehow I got a thread caught there. I don't know where that came from. Okay, so I trimmed down my fuzzies. I have a couple of places where I have fuzzies. And there you go. My heart is appliqued on the front of my envelope. Now I'm gonna take my envelope. I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna pin it down so that my corners match up with the corner of my, right there. And then I'm gonna pin that in place so that that doesn't move. And you see where when I fold it, I have my tiny little tip there. I'm gonna cut that off so I don't have to worry about that sticking out of my blanket stitch. Okay, I think I'll put a pin at the bottom too, just for the heck of it, so it doesn't shift on me. That, like that. And I go back to my blanket stitch. And I am now going to blanket stitch all the way around the exterior of my entire envelope. This will hold all of these raw edges down. That's why we didn't stitch all the way around the outside of the envelope. I'm going to make sure I have my stiletto here. So I'm going to use a stiletto to make sure this doesn't get flipped under. There we go. Oh, I can't wait till we get our insert for our table here. That's where that hover comes in really handy, so that I can turn my corner without having to raise my presser foot. See how fast this goes. I suppose if you wanted to, if you had like a heart, you could do an embroidered heart, stitched heart as your outline. I just like the looks of this double blanket stitch. I think it's pretty. What do I want to do? Yeah, I'm going to turn. Okay. There we go. I had to think that one through. I'm not going to have to use my stiletto on this corner because I'm coming up on it as opposed to over it. Okay, we're almost done. So there is our blanket stitch all the way around. So I made my envelope, and now I'm going to take my 2 pieces that we cut earlier, and I'm going to make my letter to put in my envelope. And I'm going back to a straight stitch, going back to a 97D, and going back to my straight stitch plate. Okay. This time I'm going to start about right there. I'm going to take a few stitches up, a few stitches back. I'm going to come right to the corner, 1/4 inch away, which I know because I'm going to line that up right with that 1/4 inch part on my foot. That means I can turn. Again, I'm going to stop at the 1/4 inch, use my hover, and turn around the corner. Turn around the corner. Whoop, got a little close that one. And turn around the last corner. I'm going to come to about 2 inches away or so, and then back stitch a little bit. Now I'm going to take my corners and I'm going to trim my corner right to that stitch line. I'm going to get a better pair of scissors than this. There. I'm going to cut right to that corner, and that way my corner will turn out nice. And I'm going to take from my gap, I'll turn this inside out. And those are right here, my point turner. I'm going to take my point turner tool, I'll come in here, poke that out. You see when you trim that down, you get those nice crisp pointy corners. Okay. Then I'm going to come over here to my iron. Ooh, that's not all the way out. And I'm going to turn under my raw edges like I sewed all the way across that entire seam. And I'm rolling out my seam. So I'm taking my finger and I'm rolling that seam out so that I don't have a fold captured in there. I'll press that down, I'll turn it and roll this seam out. Just use my fingers to roll the seam out. My other seam out.
You're supposed to put your fingers in your mouth.
I know. But they're very dry, and I got nothing to grab on my seam with. So now I got that. All right, so now I've got this nice and flat. I'm going back in here. And I actually did an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, which I know I'm at because when I come to the inside of the right tongue, that's an 1/8 of an inch from my needle. So I'm going to stitch all the way around my letter, which goes in my envelope, with an 1/8 of an inch edge stitch. And I'm going to have to feed that. There we go. Nothing for the feed dogs to grab onto there, that's why I'm pulling that through. So I just reached with the top of my scissors and just grabbed that fabric and pulled it through. Okay, there is my letter. I'm gonna fold it in half. And I'm gonna put it in my envelope. And we're ready to mail. So I'll put it in kind of like that so it kind of sticks out of my envelope. It looks interesting. There you go, there's your pillow top.
So you know what else would be cute, Lisa, is that you could put a card in there.
You could put a real card, yes you could. You could put whatever you want. You could put candy in there.
You could put money in it.
You could put candy and money and if somebody wants to slip money in my envelope, I would be happy. Okay, that, folks, is your pillow top. Now we're gonna do a separate video on how to put on your faux flange binding. But that's it. That's for your pillow top. We'll see you next month. Bye.